What is going on, you guys? My name is Rage and we are back today with a quick overview video in regards to preparing and farming characters in preparation for Spider Weaver. As you guys can see on the screen here, Spider Weaver is actually coming in the way of the Web of Life event campaign, and these events are actually some of the best ways to unlock characters in the game, just because they are accessible free to play, but there's going to be some milestones tied to that as well. But just a great opportunity. Start saving power cores, start preparing these characters, and I am going to recommend because the good news is this is one of the better instances I've seen for roster selection in terms of how we're going to actually be maximizing the shards for Spider Weaver. So keep in mind with these events, generally there is a specific trait and set of characters that are needed to actually go through ultimately to push higher and higher into the heroic mode, and that's ideally where you want to be, especially if you're in the mid game. If you're earlier and you just started in the game, it may be a little trickier to farm her shards, just because generally with these events they are more tailored towards the mid game and as well as end game, but you should still be able to get some shards of her because generally the first couple of nodes they are freebies. Now guys, how you can actually anticipate and take a look at the characters that are going to be required. They've already announced that it's going to be the Vigilant trait. So what we can do is we can hit roster here. What we can also do is then hit the filter, and we're just going to look for the Vigilant trait here. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow us to filter for every character that's going to be eligible in terms of being able to be used as part of the event. Obviously, the farther you go, the more ultimately pushing through the nodes, clinching the 3 stars, and then ensuring that you can auto win and farm those nodes for shard fragments, ultimately maximizing the potential of Spider Weaver and her stars. So that said, this is actually the full Vigilant roster here, and there are a really great selection of characters here because many of them are actually already part of the end game meta. So I definitely will likely touch base on that as well. But you can see this is again one of the better selections we've seen in recent memories here. Last couple of events there have been a select few, but there's some really good synergies here and value because you can feel good about investing in some of these characters, even if you're not at the end game yet. If you're right now in the mid game, these are very safe characters to invest in, so I'll definitely highlight that. Now, before I get started, guys, there is an elephant in the room here. There's a character that's going to make this entire experience night and day if you actually do have her unlocked, and that goes without saying. It's Morgan Lafay. She is hands down the best legendary in the game right now. She's also one of the newest legendaries being released this year as part of the first Scourge, part of that the Pestilence Scourge, and it's sort of been run 3 times already. So if you guys were able to partake in her events, and even just able to attempt it, bare minimum you would have been able to get 40 shards unlocked of her times by 3, because there have been 3 runnings of her Scourge. You generally should have her unlocked. If you join the game after her first Scourge or second Scourge, then you won't have access to her. But for sure, definitely have the confidence to actually invest in her fully, because we do actually need her built up ultimately to gain her awakened powers, but even also later on for unlocking Apocalypse, right? It's going to be part of the sagas and making sure that you go through. So definitely feel free to push as much as you can into her. Morgan Lafay, her abilities are absolutely clutch. She can do quite a bit in terms of what she brings to the table for a team, even if she does not have the full Darkhold meta with her. 2 abilities of hers, the ultimate reality break, being able to apply disruption, slow, spreading negative effects, but as well as also a stun and ability block. This is absolutely huge, you guys. The trauma and ability block applies and targets controller enemies, and there's a lot of powerful controller enemies in the game, which is exactly why this is such a potent ability. And as well, time warp, her special ability here, clearing all positive effects from all enemies, clearing negative effects, healing herself, and reducing all the turn meter. That's a very rare ability in the game, and that's goes without saying why she remains in the top of the meta right now in terms of where she stands. Also, the main reason the Darkhold team is pretty much one of the only few teams right now sitting in the arena meta. So if you guys have her, definitely invest. It's a no-brainer. She's pretty much going to make it a night and day experience if you have her as a lock-in character. Now, I also want to talk about if you guys are newer to the game or even sitting in the mid game preparing for this type of event, what kind of team synergies can we utilize here if we don't have Morgan Lafay on the team? That's kind of what I'm more interested in talking about today. So 2 characters really kind of stick out for me in terms of synergy and what they can bring, because these 2 characters, you can actually get them quite early on in your Marvel Strike Force career in terms of your progression. And first one is Shangshi. He's actually found in the Blitz store, so and he's actually a key staple character right now in the Doom 2 and the Doom 3 raids. a couple things. He provides offensive and defensive capabilities. His Way of Fury ultimate that actually scales with the number of buffs that's on the enemy. So generally, you want to use this damage on the enemy that has the most buffs, and actually compounds, which is absolutely huge. And his Deadly Hands defensive capability here gives himself turn meter buzz while clearing all negative effects from him and all fellow heroes for higher allies, applying counter, and as well just being able to fill up his speed bar too. So it works really well together, but he's just a great slogging character, and he's also needed in the end game. So a great investment, farmable in the Blitz store, which is absolutely huge. And then as well, another key recommendation personally for defensive capabilities is Shuri. Anytime you can get a defensive character in the end game early on, they're going to provide dividends, right? She's got defense up and energy granting with her special. She also has really good strong healing that can support the team. And best of all, because of the rework recently, when any of our allies actually fall below our health threshold, they're actually going to be able to gain deflex, and that actually further provides protection for them. So that's huge. It used to only apply in raids, but now that it's in all game modes, it really does apply, it gives back value for her in terms of being a slotting character for a multitude of different teams. So those two, I think, are definitely staples, guys. Shangshi and Shuri should be forming the base of any of your Vigilant rosters right now that you're preparing for. Now I'm going to be talking about some dynamic combinations here if you have access to them, because they are still very much used in the end game. So first and foremost, if you have the combination of the Web Warriors here, Ghost Spider and Scarlet Spider, a couple things, right? They're used in the Doom 2, Doom 3 raids. They're actually needed to actually unlock Morgan Lafay later on in the Scourge. If you haven't unlocked her yet, the Web Warriors are pretty much the only viable team that can provide value there and get the job done. Even if you have a strong Dark Hunters, these guys are ultimately going to be the reason that you can push higher Scourge levels if you haven't already. And main reason with Ghost Spider is because of the fact that she can actually, spread negative conditions. She also's got ability block for crowd controlling. Just a great character overall, and she hits really hard too. And the reason I think Scarlet Spider combination is neat is because with him, he's got some great capabilities, extending negative conditions, slowing enemies, but his no responsibility passive here actually gives extra benefits to Ghost Spider, making her even more powerful by granting the additional HP, right? So that's huge. Obviously, it would be nice if they were used in raids, but because this is outside of a raid setting, they don't get as much of the Web Warriors raid bonuses. But even so, two very strong characters that can really work in tandem with each other, and again, needed for the end game, as well as the Scourge for Morgan Le Fay's unlock. Another good key character that I would recommend is Cloak, actually, because I used him in Dark Dimension 5. I don't use him anymore in the raids, but I mean, if you don't have access to strong, powerful mystic characters, Cloak and Dagger are still a really good team combination. They are a little bit on the squishier side, but main reason is because Cloak brings on a very powerful ultimate ability, Shadow Assault, attacking all enemies, applying 3 random negative effects. That can include blind, defense down, offense, slow, disruption. That's absolutely huge, guys. And having that synergizing with Ghost Spider, that's one of my Dark Dimension 5 teams right there, and they were extremely successful. So that right there, I think it gives a lot of value, just having a mixture of those characters right there. The ones I wouldn't recommend, to be quite honest, is even though we have aspects of Dark Cloak with Morgan Le Fay here, and Wong's here as well, but they really do thrive as a team. So I actually wouldn't recommend Scarlet Witch, even though she is built in the end game to unlock Apocalypse. They just don't work as well without the other cogs and pieces, right? Being Doctor Strange Heartless, and as well as Agatha Harkness. So I actually wouldn't recommend them. But if you have them built up already and they're high enough, you can ultimately use them to just get value if you don't want to invest in any characters furthermore. Another good one, just based on what I've kind of pronounced here, guys, if you have her built up and maybe you don't have access to some of the other endgame characters, Hela, she is quite early. She is accessible in the mid game when you actually are able to go through Villain 7-6, I believe. But just the fact that she's kind of like Ghost Spider with her ultimate, she can spread negative conditions, and this actually includes a lot of different ability blocks and so forth. So I mean, if you have that synergy with Ghost Spider and Cloak, I mean, this could be a very devastating negative inflicting team. She's got disruption, and she's also got the undead Guardian known as Greg that can soak up damage as well. Whenever he's taken down, it only adds to the turn meter for Hela, so it really works well together. And as well, guys, a new recently released characters as of late, Hulkbuster and Vivision. These two are very, very powerful, and you know, they're already kind of pretty much basically needed in Doom 3 raids, right? So if you have them built up naturally, you're going to be getting some value there. So I really like Vivision because she has a strong ultimate ability here, where she can actually flip negative effects to positive for allies, and as well she can also apply blind on the whatever role it is, as well as generating ability energy for any adjacent Bionic Avenger. So I mean, that would include Hulkbuster. So just keep in mind that keep them together if you are planning to bring them on, but because they are newer in the game, I also understand that not every player may have access to them. Another honorable mention, guys, as well, as I don't have them built up and I am planning to build them up, is, you know, Black Panther. He's got a lot of great offensive capabilities. I unfortunately don't have him built up, but now that I got him with the 7 red, I definitely need to. It's just I've been investing in, you know, the rest of the other Apocalypse and Scourge requirements, but Wakandans aren't part of that mix. But if you have him built up, he's a really strong addition. That synergy with Shuri as well, so definitely a key recommendation, especially with the rework, and they have a place now in Cosmic Crucible. And then as for the, you know, the amount of ones I don't have built up on the bottom here, you know, Ghost Rider, Elsa, as well as Dr. Voodoo, they are part of Dark Hunters. So if you guys are planning to build up the war team or already have them invested in, then definitely they can add value there, right? Might as well take advantage of what you have already. Yeah, but yeah, guys, nothing but good things to say about this roster. Mighty Thor and Valkyrie, they honestly shine more with Thor, so I actually wouldn't recommend them. They have the hearts right now because I'm building them up for the War Scourge that's coming up very, very soon, based on what we're seeing in the data mines. But I mean, otherwise, the other one I would recommend, even though he's fallen kind of out of the meta, is actually Spider-Man Symbiote. I mean, naturally, you guys haven't built up. He's actually got a great kit. It's unfortunate because his team's no longer used in the end game, but overall he's always had a good kit. As you can see, all my T4 upgrades there. He kind of operates very similar to Scarlet Spider, where he can extend negative conditions, but even better is he actually has a stun that actually applies slow to all enemies around him as well for 2 turns. But that stun is really handy. You need to crowd control and just be able to manage waves, right? So a good character. It's unfortunate that, you know, he's fallen out because he's definitely one of my favorites for sure. But I mean, otherwise, guys, those are some of the more powerful recommendations that I can see right now. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, because I think the Vigilant roster so far, if they don't change anything with this upcoming event, this is definitely one of the better selections we've seen as of late, preparing for campaign events. So thank you as always, you guys. Do appreciate you checking my videos. Thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next one.